Hey guys, in this video I'm going to attempt to explain what IOC is on the DJI Phantom. Basically we're going to do these 5 steps. I'm going to explain what IOC is, explain the differences between the two modes, download and install the drivers and software necessary to enable this, because it does not come enabled out of the box. We're going to go ahead and enable it, and then we're going to do a flight where I actually show you what I'm going to attempt to explain here. So if you look at this, well, I'll tell you what. First of all, IOC stands for Intelligent Orientation Control. There's basically 2 modes. We have home lock mode, HL is home lock mode, and CL is course lock mode. Those are the 2 modes of IOC operation. And what it's for is basically to reestablish or regain orientation once it's lost. And it's particularly for the new flyers, this is bound to happen to you. You're going to fly it out so far that you're going to lose orientation. You don't know which way is forwards and backwards, left and right. You don't know which way is which, and you're going to need to get the quadcopter closer to where you are so that you can reestablish that orientation. And that's what this is. That's what this is for. So if you look at this little illustration, it looks a lot like your controller. The right toggle, the right throttle, I'm sorry, is forward, backward, left, right. If you look at the top right-hand corner, that's the little toggle switch for GPS and attitude mode. The left one is the throttle up, in other words, go higher or lower, turn the quadcopter to the left or turn it to the right. And then this is the actual IOC control, where you have the off, course lock, and home lock. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to play Let's Pretend. We're going to let's pretend that we're out in a field, and you know, this is all one big field, and we're going to try and fly our quadcopter. Set that up, and what we want to do is, for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to pretend that this is me, and that this is my DJI Phantom. I'm aiming this way. Okay, I'm looking in this direction. I put my quadcopter directly in front of me, and forwards for the quadcopter is this way, and backwards. This is the front of it, and this is the back of the quadcopter. I've turned on my transmitter. I have my GPS mode enabled, and I have my course lock, my IOC off, completely off. So I turned on my transmitter, and I hook up the battery, and now it's going to warm up the IMU. It's going to do its whole startup procedure. The startup does a number of things. It warms up the IMU. It establishes the GPS. In other words, it looks for the GPSs in the sky, and then and one of the things that it does is it establishes what's called a home point. Your home point is where this flight is starting from. This flight is starting from here, and from this place, it's going to know that this is forwards and this is backwards, and this plays into the intelligent orientation control. So now it's done. It's all warm up. By the way, it establishes that information. It gets that. Usually it's about 30 seconds into its warm up, but sometimes, I don't know exactly when it is, but during this warm up, it establishes this home point. So now it's all warmed up. I got my 2 green blinking lights. I'm in GPS mode, and I take off. I take off, and I fly it directly in front of me. I fly it all the way out here. I go forwards, and it goes all the way out here. So my quadcopter is now over here, and then I decide over here I'm going to turn left. So I turn it to the left, and now the front of the quadcopter is here, the back of the quadcopter is here. And I decide that I'm going to go forward again, but now, again, relative to me and its starting point, forward is actually going left. And now my quadcopter is over here. So depending on how far away the quadcopter is from you, you can start to see that this could get a little confusing. So now it's all the way over here, and let's say I decide to turn left again. So I'm going to turn it to the left again, and now my quadcopter's front is here and the back is here. And let's say, for the sake of the demonstration, I decide to go forward again. Well, now forward, again, relative to me and its starting point, forward is actually coming back to me. So again, depending on how far away you are or how far away your quadcopter is, this could get confusing. Let's say I continue to fly around and I got this thing flying so far away, it's way out here. I have no idea which way it's going. I don't know which way is forwards, which way is back. I hit my controls, but I can't really determine which way it's flying. It's so damn far away from me. What I need to do is get this guy closer to where I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it from off, my IOC toggle, I'm going to switch it from off to home lock. And then when I switch it to home lock, I'm going to pull back on my throttle. What this does is it's going to say, okay, what you want me to do is go back home, because back is going to be home. So wherever this is, whichever way it's pointing, forward could be here and backward could be going this way. Now when I put back, it's going to go straight to its home point. It's going to do a beeline right to the home point, regardless of which way it's facing. That's home lock. That's the home lock. And the idea here is, okay, you're going to get it close enough to where you can determine orientation again. You know which way is forward and which way is back. That's what that's for. The course lock is similar, but course lock uses direction. It's direction when you started the flight. So its direction was forwards was this way, backwards is this way, right is this way, left is this way. So instead of if I decide to, instead of going to home lock, I go to course lock and then I go back, well, which way is back relative to my starting point? Well, back here it's going to go straight back. And if I decide to go to the right, well, it's going to go straight to the right. If I decide to go to the left, it's going to go straight to the left. Again, why is that? Because when it started, forwards was this way, backwards was this way, right was this way, and left was this way. So if you go into course lock mode, that's the way it's going to behave. That's how it's going to fly. And that's the difference between home lock and course lock. Again, it's used primarily to reestablish orientation. A couple of things you need to be aware of. First of all, this is relative. These things work relative to the quadcopter's starting point, not where you are. So let's say, for the sake of the demonstration, during the flight I moved. I'm all the way over here now. I'm not where I was when I started the flight. I was all the way back here. If I'm standing all the way over here and I switch it to home lock and pull back on my throttle, it's not going to come back to me. It's going to come back where? It's going to come back to the home point, not me. It's all relative to where it started. And again, if I go to course lock and I'm standing all the way over here, same situation. Forwards is going to be this way, backwards is going to be this way, right is going to be this way, left is going to be this way. So where you are can lend to confusion. Again, but you need to be aware that these functions are dependent on where the flight started, where the DJI was when it started the flight. The other could be confusing thing is that if you're in home lock and you actually pull back on your throttle to get it back closer to home, and you actually stay on that back, and it actually comes within 10 meters of where the home position was, and you're still pulling back on it, it automatically switches from home lock to course lock. So typically this is not going to happen, because what you do is you get it close enough to where, okay, I've reestablished orientation. I take it off of home lock and just switch it back to off and continue flying the way I was before. So once you've reestablished your orientation, you don't need to get it all the way back to its starting point. You're usually going to reach that point. I'm going to reestablish orientation long before I get back to my starting point. At that point, I switch it back to off and then just continue my flying. But if you do continue to pull back on it and it gets within 10 meters of its starting point, it's going to switch from home lock to course lock, which means that if it gets to within 10 meters, it automatically switches to course lock, and you're still pulling back on your throttle, it's going to go this way. Because backwards is, again, now if we're in course lock, backwards is now this way. And that's, again, that could lend itself to confusion if you're not prepared for it. But usually, like I said, usually you're gonna switch out of home lock or course lock long before you get here, because again, all you're trying to do is reestablish orientation so that you can continue flying. Anyway, I hope that explains the difference between the home lock and course lock. What we'll do next is download and install the drivers and the software, and then enable the IOC, and then we'll go ahead and do a flight.